Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your unfiltered fit BFF. Mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who truly understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify your fitness journey so you can lose fat, regain your confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Come on, let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host, and today we are back with Coach Jen. We missed last month, but it was for a good reason. We were in the midst of Powerhouse Summit chaos, which was amazing. We're going to touch a little bit on the Powerhouse Summit and how incredible it was. Jen, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited.
I know regarding the name of our segment, I think Sonia gave a very good idea. I'm going to ask her to remind me what it is, and it's going to become it because I loved her idea. I just can't remember what it was because we need a name and we've been like procrastinating it which kind of ties in the topic that we're going to cover today on like, I'm just so busy all the time. I haven't had time to get to it. So yeah, it's very fitting, actually. I didn't even think about that I went this direction.
I was just going to say, I feel a little attacked.
Yeah. So today's conversation, Jen, is to talk about something that I find that is actually super interesting, that at the time of this recording, we are in the beginning of October, and, the episode's going to come live a couple weeks after we record. And, whenever I make jokes about every month there is a reason for us to not do the things that we need to do because life is busy, the 2 months that I normally find that are like the non-crazy busy months are October and April. They're like kind of like the only 2 months
Right.
that you are like that there are not a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like wildly enough, one of the things that I've been hearing often in a lot of the conversations that I've been having on Instagram, and sometimes even with some of our members, is I'm just so busy, like because I work full time and I have kids. And I would love for us to talk on that. And I think that you are a very good person for me to discuss this because you are a single mom. You have 2 kids. Your kids are in sports and they go to sports every single day.
Yeah.
You're full-time with Powerhouse Academy as the head coach. You are doing your master's right now. You volunteer in your church, if I'm not mistaken.
I do.
You also have a few patients on the counseling side of things on the side that have been with you for some time. So I think that if we can talk about being busy, I cannot think of many other people that would fit the bill like you do. So what do you think is the problem? Like, why are we having so many ladies, especially, stuck on I'm busy because life is so busy and it's busy all the time?
Well, to play devil's advocate always, of course, everybody deals with different levels of stress in many different ways, right? So some of us are just able to organize and get our thoughts and bearings together differently than others. So I won't ever discount how we all handle different layers of stress and levels of stress. However, with that being said, I think that also lends itself to the fact that not everybody, I shouldn't say that people become overwhelmed with their busyness because they're not properly organized and they don't have the proper systems in place to allow themselves to find efficiency. And that's really what it comes down to: time management and efficiency.
And, I actually did a live this morning talking about this because, these are conversations that we've had, as friends. But one of the things that we hear the most is, I'm busy because of my kids. So therefore I cannot take care of myself. And maybe it's not worded like this. I'm busy with my kids, therefore I cannot take care of myself. It's more like, I'm so busy with my kids, so I can't work out, which by default is taking care of yourself. But whenever you say take care of yourself, it feels more like real
Yeah.
on the consequences of it, or I'm busy because work is busy. And I want to piggyback on what Jen said. This is not coming as like a bit of an attack, because I have two kids as well. We don't have family help here, it's just Roger and I. So I get it. But it's wild to me that we're using our kids as the reason why we don't take care of ourselves, because we're busy with them, not understanding that these come with consequences. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, how are we going to guarantee, or at least do our best to ensure that we are here to be able to watch our kids become functioning adults of society, like watch them graduate high school and graduate college and have kids, and for us to be grandmothers and who are physically able to do things, like I find that is such a paradoxical statement. Like, I don't have time because of my kids, but at the same time, that's why you should make the time.
Right. It's illogical if you think about it. But then even like, let's not even take it decades away. Let's even take it to the nearsighted future. If you're not properly caring for yourself, there's not going to be the energy and the ability, functionality, mobility to be present with your kids, even at the younger ages, or even have the energy to. I'm growing into where my kids are in their sports until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And because I take care of myself the way I do, I'm able to be present at that time when most would be really, really exhausted and tired because they're not properly caring for themselves. So it's just your matter of presence. But then also, if you're not feeling 100% within yourself physically and or mentally, are you able to allow your children to be your sole focus as well, or are you distracted by your inability to feel your best because you're distracted by not having the energy, not feeling well, being insecure in your physical presence, and then doubting yourself and your mental capabilities? So it's definitely multifaceted, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting that you're saying this, because it brings me to a time where when we first moved here, and I didn't dedicate time to work and I didn't dedicate the time to be with my kids. I tried to do both at the same time. And I would always, I'm busy because I don't have time to be with the kids, but I also don't have time to be work, because I was trying to do both. And I felt like I was failing at both. I felt like I was being very shitty at work, and I felt like I was being very shitty at being a parent, because I would get annoyed with my kids because I was consumed by what I was supposed to be doing with work. And it wasn't until I think I saw something, like I listened to a podcast or something, that kind of sparked something in my brain. And then I started to have like the dedicated time
Yeah,
and to have very clear boundaries, because I feel like a lot of times the lack of time comes from a lack of boundary.
absolutely.
Even with the lack of boundary with your own children, on the dedicated time that you have to work out. Oh, I couldn't work out because my kid kept on interrupting me. Obviously, if we're talking about like a 1 or 2 year old, that what I'm talking about here doesn't necessarily apply. But if you have kids that are at an age that they can understand that no is fucking no,
Right.
if your kid keeps on interrupting, it's like ultimately not your children's fault. It is your fault for not setting clear boundaries about what is important to you at that moment in time.
But also having clarity on what makes the most sense for your life at that given point in time. Can we reevaluate then maybe your schedule in a way to accommodate obviously your child's needs at that point in time versus maybe another point in time? I don't know. Maybe that's a thought too. Because if you're noticing this is an ongoing trend that your child's going to continuously interrupt your workout, is there another time available? There is. I know there is, but open mindedness, we'll call it right now
Yeah,
before we get deeper into that.
100%. And I think that that is one of the biggest problems whenever I'm saying this, whenever we say people, we're not pointing fingers, because I can speak for myself and I'll let Jenna speak for herself. A lot of the things that we're talking about here have come from personal experience as well.
Mhm.
Struggles that I had and honest conversations that I had to have with my own self about, what I want the most, and how uncomfortable am I willing to get in order to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And what I see is that people want to maintain the same type of lives that they had from like before they had kids. And then before they got a promotion at work where it requires more of their time, they want to keep the same life that they had previously, with saying yes to everything, with being everything for everyone.
Yes.
They want to keep on doing that while also having to do everything for everyone else and all the other responsibilities. And that's when we get back to that conversation, like, quote unquote, everybody has the same 24 hours in the day. Yes. But we also need to understand that you own the 24 hours. How do you choose to divide that?
Exactly. And that does come from also understanding that sacrifices are going to have to be made on other ends. And you're also going to have to get out of your own way in many occasions. You live a lot of times, what I have noticed is people live within the labels they placed upon themselves.
Talk about that.
Well, one in particular, which drives me up a wall. And I understand, again, I will say that I understand everybody is different and has different requirements within their present self. But those who are like, I'm not a morning person, there is nothing that it's like nails on a chalkboard for me, is I'm not a morning person. But you want to accomplish X, Y, and Z of all the tasks, but you're not willing to get out of your own way and even wake up an extra half hour earlier to allow yourself that time to figure it out because you're not a morning person. Okay, well, we also grow up past that. And I did just say what I said. We have to grow into our lifestyle for wherever we are in that season. And if that means becoming a morning person for the given point in time, you become one.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because for the listeners, they know, and the majority of them know, but I'm going to rephrase it. I know that you know this, Jen. For a long time, I worked shifts because I bartended. And in fact, whenever I was getting ready for the Olympia, that like I was working till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning some days. And that's how I did it. So I was definitely not a quote unquote morning person at that season of life. And I could have gotten married to that as my life changed because then I moved and I had my kids and then the Powerhouse Academy started to pick up and then I had to adjust my schedule, especially as we moved and we didn't have help. Like I could have wrapped myself on that label because that was true for when I was living a different life and be like, oh, I'm not a morning person. Therefore, it doesn't work for me right now. But like, have you tried? Because now is a different season.
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying a morning person to get up and start moving and grooving like I do. Yeah, I'm a morning person, but I always have been. That I know. But as far as just even getting up that extra 15, 20 minutes earlier to check the emails that you seem to be missing, or, when you feel unorganized because school is coming at you with 9,000 different tasks for your kids to attend to, again, maybe that 15 minutes is just the answer you're looking for because those little bits of anxiety that are created from those little tasks do end up compounding on top of other things to make you feel as though you're spiraling out of control, are just making yourself feel disorganized. And that's why that 15 minutes can be the make or break in what translates for your success in other areas.
So wild. I can personally vouch to this like right now. And again, I think that that's the beauty of it is that I don't want anybody listening to think that we're speaking from a pedestal because I'm the farthest away from that. I'm not at all perfect, but I think that the biggest part of this conversation is that unaware is first, you can only change what you're aware of.
Right.
And I think that having the honest conversations with yourself about what are the things that I'm doing that are not aligned with my goals. And like from me, that since the summit, I'm still kind of like trying to physically catch up, aware of it. Like it was so like intense in a good way. But it's very emotionally, there's so much positive emotion whenever you're there that on the other end, it's almost like there's a little bit of a crash. And that's kind of where I am right now. So I am struggling to wake up in the morning and I'm doing every day. I'm able to wake up like 15 minutes earlier, but we be out here struggling. And that's a fact. Do I like it? No. Am I doing something to change it? Yes. And I have noticed that since I have been sleeping in more than I normally would, I am more stressed with the kids in the morning
Less time.
because I haven't got the time to organize my thoughts to, do the courses that I like to do in the first like hour of the day that I normally would when I wake up earlier. So now I feel like I'm always playing catch up and that stresses me out. And that stress impacts the people that I love the most, which is my kids and my husband.
Right. Because we don't know how to sometimes regulate it properly and filter it. And then, yes, feeling overwhelmed and disorganized has us running like a chicken without a head. And it doesn't feel good for us. And our children do absorb all of that energy. Our significant others absorb that energy. And then when it does come to the downtime, then we just crash because all of our pent up stress is finally able to be released. And it's just sheer exhaustion that sets in.
Yeah, I have. I'm going to share a conversation that I actually shared with you before we were talking, because this has been a very common theme. And I would love for you to give your perspective, not only as a parent who is busy, but also as a mental health professional, and on the impact that this kind of thought process can have in our kids. So I'm talking with this person, and I have, and she's talking about everything that is wrong with her body because she had a kid and she had a C-section. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I get it. Like, that's me saying I also had two C-sections within 14 months and blah blah blah. And then I asked her, like, what are you currently doing to try and get to your goals? And then she said, well, honestly, nothing much, not nothing at all, because I have a super busy schedule and I work full time and I have a kid. And I was like, totally get it. And then she said, it's so hard for me to find time to prioritize myself. What would you say to this person? What would be your reply?
At first, I would love to understand definitely what her schedule looks like, right? We don't know. Could it be that she is working 12, 14-hour days and doesn't have any help? We don't know the details. So of course we'd want to learn the details. The father of her child or significant other, are they present? Is her partner present with her to support and guide in other ways in life? That's number one. And then number two, how is she reacting or responding to her child? Right? Because as a toddler, is she just to bring awareness to how her not taking care of herself is possibly affecting her entire environment? And then is her toddler reacting or responding in other ways? And, as some may know, and if you don't know, you will learn, I work with children. I work with young adults and teenagers, and of course, the effects of parenting on said children. So it starts in the toddler years and the programming from there forward. So again, just bringing awareness to how her lack of caring for herself and not really prioritizing what needs to be priority, how is that affecting her children going forward and currently? Uh,
What are signs to look for? Like, what are things whenever you say, because from speaking with a lot of our ladies, I know what you mean, but I think it would be important to have some clarity whenever you say how her not making the time for herself is impacting her toddler, or even like, I think we can talk about toddler, but we can also talk about teenagers or kids who are in college. So what are the things that you're referring to whenever we're talking about this impact?
well, in the adolescent years, when you start to prioritize your children over yourself, and again, this is very, speaking loosely, not conservatively, in the idea that you're creating this entitled sense within the child to where they ultimately think that they are to receive every single thing. And let me gather my thoughts on that one and I'll circle back. In the adolescent stages, they become demanding. Their behavior becomes very demanding, impatient. They don't understand rules and regulations which children thrive upon. So then their sleep patterns are affected, their social capabilities are affected, their ability to even sit in class and learn is affected because, again, they think that they need to be the sole focus at all times, which is stemming from, of course, the parents. Then you push it forward into the teenage years. And again, that trickles in, but then disappointment filters in because they have to deal with different
With
environments.
boundaries,
Exactly.
like that thing that we were
People.
talking about, like like what I actually just wrote it down, like everything that you're talking about is coming back to boundaries. Like, if those boundaries are not taught in the beginning, then you're not equipping your child to understand what no is, and
Life
to
skills.
respect. Yes, yeah.
And then what ends up happening is later on in life, when they don't understand how to handle the word no, disappointment or discouragement or even rejection, and I'll use that very loudly, the word rejection, it turns into a complete potential mental disturbance that they don't know how to handle. And could that translate to depression, anxiety, behavioral patterns that could translate to behavioral disorders? Absolutely. And that's something that we as parents need to always remain aware of as soon as we have children. So for y'all who don't have them yet, it might be
Do,
entertaining the idea of.
Do you think that there is also the layer of whenever a child is constantly used to having someone saying yes to them for everything, that becomes the normal that they think it needs to be? And then on that, we not only have the risk of entitled kids, but we also have the risk of kids who don't know how to say no because they never got them. And then you have like the people pleasing kind of, like a child that doesn't know how to set their own boundaries because they haven't learned boundaries in their upbringing. Do you think that that can be a consequence as well?
It absolutely can be. However, I will say on the side note of that, the majority of the time when children, and again, there's always the exception, but from what I have experienced in the studies that I have researched, if a child has not had the idea of no implemented into their lifestyle, the idea of boundaries is for them setting them later on in life is going to be kind of negligible because they didn't have boundaries set on them. I'm sorry, they're going to actually have very strict boundaries because they don't take no for an answer. And they'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they receive absolutely everything that they want, which can be a great thing,
Hmm.
depending on how it's guided and nurtured. And but again, it's very individual.
For women, like, and I'm gonna pay kind of obviously you know more of these studies, so I'm like legitimately curious. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just kind of like trying to follow the logic, but I feel like, for example, for a girl that is watching her mom completely like almost like cannibalize herself to an extent, put everything and everyone before, not just the children, but everything else. So like that becomes the norm. Like you don't take care of you, so for the benefit of everyone else. So I'm not like, so that's kind of what I'm referring to because that's what you learn from watching inside your own home.
Right later on in life, look fast forward into the adult years,
Yes.
and when they're raising their own family, absolutely, that becomes what they do know, and that is absolutely how then they will navigate into their home lives as well. So it will perpetuate the constant cycle.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking this because that is something in a lot of the calls that I get, that whenever they like, you have some ladies that have like very strong people pleasing tendencies. And I'm not saying this as a like
Hmm.
this or something that is wrong. It just is.
It is.
And whenever you start to peel the layers on their upbringing, you always come back to like, oh, my mom was a bit like this, and then my dad was a dick. Or like a very passive, like father, and a mom that was more of, you know what I'm saying? So I've always, in what are things that women can do, moms can do, because the lack of time is real. Like we can actually, before I ask this, I want to ask your opinion. What do you think about, because there is a lot of talking on social media about, oh, not everybody has the same 24 hours in a day.
Mm,
And then you have everybody has the same 24 hours in a day.
agree.
So you have the two camps, and then you have the people like, oh my God, because people on social media are saying like they're 20 years old and they're saying that mom, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the other people who are on the other side of the spectrum. Where do you stand, Jen, on the everybody or has or doesn't have the same 24 hours in a day?
We all have the same 24 hours in a day, all the same.
Why do you say that?
Because there's literally 24 hours in a day, and it's just how we all decide to use them. It's not, they're no different. An hour is 60 minutes and 60 seconds within each minute. Let's take it to the absolutes.
I love me. Oh, we know that I love data. So, what do you think that it starts to be the breakdown that as we have more responsibilities, it feels like that not everybody has the same 24 hours in the day? What do you think that is the breakdown?
They are living within their excuses. They are trying to potentially, when somebody says we do, well, don't have the same 24 hours in a day, they're trying to justify their decisions and not actually living within the reality or speaking the truth to themselves. So, again, living within their excuses, possibly even remaining within the victim status, many different caveats that could fall into that idea. Again, different lifestyle choices for sure. Or maybe they're saying because I have toddlers versus you have teenagers, it's different hours. That could be why, which is fine. But again, if we're going to,
Hmm.
an hour is an hour, 15 minutes is 15 minutes.
So, well, like the way I look at it, I'm in a similar camp to you. The way that I look at it is we have more responsibilities to fit in the hours. It's still the same 24 hours. And then it's up to us to make the decision on how we want to fill the 24 hours that we do have. The 24 hours are to an extent the same because they are still 60 minutes, as you said, but the responsibilities that we have are not the same. So I think that that's the conversation that we should be having, not about the time that we have, but the responsibilities that we have and how we're going to prioritize the responsibilities to fit in the time that is the same.
Right. Yes, that's a very fair way to say it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where people are stuck in the weed. And then it feeds into that victim mentality.
And then they start to resent different parts of their lives instead of taking responsibility for the choices they've made.
Talk about the resentment.
Well, they'll resent their job and that they have to commute to it, or the life choices they've made as far as the partners they've chosen. But again, these were all your choices.
If these aren't the consequences of your choices.
You made your bed.
And this sounds so mean and so like judgmental. I know, but I think that we are in a time where we have to tiptoe around so much what we say that it sometimes feel challenging to give sound advice that you be the thing that shakes people up. Because the way and I feel like I can say this because I do come from an abusive household.
Sure.
I do come from a country where there are very few opportunities. There is very little social flexibility. I do come from a broken home, like, but literally not just that my parents separated and then they were like good co-parents. No, my dad was a piece of shit. I still haven't spoken to him since I was like 10, 12, something like that. So we could see here and live in this puddle of reasons why things are not possible. But the way I believe that is important to look at life is that we're not a tree. And if we don't like where we are, we have two choices. We either do something about it to change, or we just shut the fuck up and accept the choices that we made.
And that's not mean to say. I think that's very valid, absolutely valid, because again, every single thing that we are living right now at this given point in time are based upon the choices we've made. And while maybe some of them were not exactly of our wanting to choose, but we had to choose, how do we make the best of it? How do we then sit there and look to see how we can learn from what we've been given and grow from there? That's where you can be a tree.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Don't stay rooted.
Like be those trees that move around, like that just keep on climbing. And what is it? What are they called?
The ivy, like, aren't they like an ivy tree?
Yeah, like kind of like an ivy that, like, they move, they keep on going places.
Or sunflowers that follow the sun.
Yeah, I think that is like the perfect analogy, because I feel a bit heartless sometimes, like when I look at like life, and there's shady things that happen every single day to everybody. Everybody's busy. There are always things going on, but I feel like we can look at these things and be like, holy shit, I'm busy as hell. What is the best that I can do with what I have going on right now?
Right, exactly. And that's the objective, is to sit there and just really look to see how you can completely grow from my experience.
Did you have, Jen, a come to Jesus moment when your life changed? And because before you were married, you had a lot of flexibility with your time because of the setup that you had with your ex-husband. And then you became a single mom with two kids, and now you have a teenager that comes with their own like set of challenges, which I'm I'm personally not looking for, and a very young kid, because I think your youngest was probably like 2 or 3 when you divorced your ex-husband, with whom now you have a very good relationship, just for the record. What was the come to Jesus moment for you that you're like, okay, things are different now, so I'm going to have to do things differently?
I just absolutely, and I might be a different species and I will accept that wholeheartedly, but I was riddled with debilitating anxiety at moments in time after getting divorced because I didn't know what was to come the next day. I didn't know how I was going to sit there and make ends meet, raising my 2 children on my own. But I also accepted wholeheartedly that I made that choice. I made the decision because I knew that my happiness was not going to be dictated by somebody else's choices. It was my choice to figure it out. So there was a very pinnacle moment in my life where I was, and this is me being very raw and transparent, I was on the floor in a panic attack and or throes of anxiety, however you want to look at it, and questioning life choices at that point in time and wondering what I was going to do next to make sure I could literally give my children food. And that is when I sat there and I was like, all right, you know what? And I spoke to myself. It's an internal dialogue that constantly has to happen continuously, day in and day out. And I just said, listen, you are stronger than this moment right now. You feel what you're feeling, but also own the fact that you've made this choice. And I literally said those words to myself as my son's asking me, Mommy, are you okay? Mommy, do you need me to call someone to help you? And I looked at him and I was like, okay, buddy, no, we got this. I made this choice. We're going to figure this out. We got this. And that's when, again, I will figure it out. It was just what kept resonating inside my head. What I kept repeating to myself is, I will figure this out. I can do this. I can do this. I could do this.
Like I took notes. Oh my God, you almost made me cry. I have another podcast. I can't cry. My makeup's going to get messed up. Okay, I'm back. The things that kept on coming to me as you were speaking, there are two phrases that kept on popping and I kept on writing them down, which is radical honesty. And what I mean by that is like a radical honesty with yourself about where you are, and where you want to be. Like I probably wrote here about 3 times radical honesty. And the other thing that came to mind as well was radical ownership, which is ownership of your choices. And I think that this is something that comes a lot with the busyness. Like the idea of busyness is always thinking that the grass is greener.
Right.
Like, oh, because if I'm here with my kid, and we're all doing the best that we can. And we think that it's going to be greener by us completely cannibalizing ourselves and our bodies. And because we don't have the time. So the thing that is going to be cannibalized is us. But then you're always wondering what you'd be like if I made the time. And then you start to project on other people that do make the time.
Right. The idea of projection, though, should be something that always remains present in your foresight, because what do you wish to look like is ultimately what you will reach towards and what you will grow towards and what you'll create, right? So, we sit there and we speak to how people are treating us, and it's a projection of their own feelings. So what are you projecting?
Holy shit. I had just had a conversation with a lady a few days ago, and it was incredible because she was talking about how she feels about herself and her body. And she's just recently divorced. And like her radical honesty was like, I'm like, I want to talk to you again. Like, yes. Because she was like, I know that if I put myself out there in the dating market, I'm not going to attract what I know I deserve, because that's not like, I'm not putting out I'm not in a place where I feel comfortable making stronger boundaries and being very clear on what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not willing to tolerate. And this is so powerful because it is very true. Like I wholeheartedly believe that things that people do to you are only happening because you have allowed it to happen. And I'm not saying this as a victim shaming at all. That's not what I'm saying. But if you don't respect yourself enough to put 20 minutes aside 3 times a week to focus on you, how the fuck do you expect people to respect your time and respect your efforts if you don't even do that for yourself? How do you expect your children to respect you if you don't even respect yourself enough to take care of the one body? How do you expect your boss to respect you if you don't even show respect for yourself? In the way that you show up for work, the clothes that you wear, the way that you carry yourself, like it is all correlated. But we have become such a soft society that if you say this, it's like, oh my God, you're victim shaming. You're like a fat shaming. I don't think it has anything to do with being overweight or not being overweight. It is about the way you carry yourself and how many no's you're willing to say. But I'm going to get off my soapbox because I know you want to say something.
Because I'm going to go on to mine. The idea, when we speak to radical honesty and we're taking stock in where we are in life and what our life looks like, this is when with passion, and people may say it's too much, and I don't care. It's passionate.
Oh, we are too
Look
much,
at
Jen.
what
We accept it. Let's live
and I'm
there.
cool with that. Yeah, that's it. Look at the company you are keeping, right? So you're sitting there talking about your business colleagues, your family members, your children, and how they're all treating you. So, you know what? Let that be your step one. If you're questioning how busy you are, let us look to the relationships you have around you, literally to the foundational level with your significant other or your partner, your spouse, to your children. How are your children treating you? There is nothing that gets me more twisted than when I see a child disrespect their parent. And I'm just like, that speaks to how the parent is respecting themselves. So that is case in point, the projection, right? Of you living within the excuses of being too busy to take care of yourself. Now your child is just walking around disrespecting you outwardly. And then again, your partner, your spouse, your significant other, your business colleagues, are you feeling deflated in the workspace or degraded or defeated? Because again, they are easily able to take advantage of you or disrespect you in certain ways because you're not ultimately taking care of yourself properly to present with such a self-respect. So we speak about self-respect as being the number one objective, right? Self-respect is what we should be carrying ourselves with based on the self-love and self-care that we take care of ourselves. But your self-love cannot just be you telling yourself in the mirror, I am beautiful, I'm powerful, I'm strong.
Yes. And piggybacking on the company, which is something that we're going to be talking about in another episode, that's actually something we were dabbling on talking about today. I think that whenever you are surrounded by people who don't prioritize themselves, that are always using the I am too busy and my kids are the center of the universe, therefore I cannot say no to them. Like if that's the kind of environment that you're in, with those that are like, oh, because I have kids, then that's it. I must stop taking care of myself. That becomes your norm. And I wholeheartedly believe that is one of the biggest things that we have inside the Powerhouse Academy, which is that support in a way that you can come to it full of bullshit excuses. And then you have someone who has like 6 kids and runs a business, who like gets up, gets done, and calls it a day. And then you have somebody else who is always traveling and has kids and has a spouse that maybe is not as supportive as they should, but she's still getting it done. And whenever you have been surrounded by people who are full of excuses and you put yourself in an environment with people that have none, it really opens your eyes for the opportunities. It kind of raises the ceiling. You're really capped. There is a book that I
It does.
read. It's called The Gap in the Game.
It does.
And it talks about the ceiling that you give yourself. And that's why so many people have zero flexibility. And I think a very good way to see this, because it is very data influenced, which is social flexibility, like from a financial piece, because I see this a lot in Brazil. And what I see a lot coming from there, which is a country that has very little social flexibility, is that you start to cap yourself based on the people that are around you. So if that's all you see, that's what you think that's the limit. But whenever you start to put yourself in different rooms where people are doing infinitely better than you, if you have the right mind space, you can either compare yourself and feel sorry for yourself and be like, oh my God, like poor me, or you can elevate.
Right.
And I think that that's the part where community
Right.
is so important, but we're going to do a whole podcast on that.
And I just want to piggyback on that just a pinch, just to make sure that regardless of the company you're keeping at this point in time, doesn't mean that you can't sit there and embrace. We're supposed to be all accepting, right? I'm sorry. Embrace all warps and not feel inadequate in amongst it, but know to the core that you have the opportunity to grow within that too. And don't allow that inadequate feeling to be your roadblock. Allow that to be actually your catalyst, right? To grow into whatever it could be. Now, we're not saying you have to go from not doing anything to doing everything in the matter of a month, but even the small little steps to do something will compound on top of itself to do the greater thing over the course of time. So, of course, there's different solutions to it all.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going off on a tangent.
And that's one of the things that I think we do very well in the Powerhouse Academy, which is meeting people where they're at, because the jumping block for many different people is going to be different. If if they're struggling to believe that they can, you'd be absolutely insane to be like, hey, let's start with like 6 workouts a week. Not that we would put anybody in 6 workouts a week without them wanting it, but you know what I'm saying? So I think that that's why it's so important to make sure that whenever you're choosing the help on the fitness aspect, that you are doing so in a way that with the understanding that the person that is helping you understands your life.
Right, exactly. And knowing that there is a starting point for all of us. Even those of us that are seasoned in other areas of life, there's still a starting point for another. And it's constant learning. I cannot even tell you, even if within the past 3 months, how much more I've learned and grown. And I'm okay with that. And I love every bit of it because it just means that there's so much more to share.
Yeah. No, 100%. So what would be like 3 strategies that you would give to someone, like that message that I read of the person saying, I'm just so busy, I can't make the time, blah, blah, blah. What would be your 3 practical tips for someone like that?
First and foremost, one major one would be possibly like batch tasks, right? So things that are very similar in concept or application. Put them all together in one type of thought process and then put them into individual days. And I even did this as far as cleaning house. I'm going to keep it very, very simple, high level. Cleaning house, all bathrooms done on Monday, kitchen done on Tuesday. Like never the whole house in one day because that just seemed overwhelming at certain points in time when you have, like, let's say, a newborn. So batch task, right? Meal planning naturally should be all in 1 day or 2 days. And like foods, cooked at the same time like foods, whatever. Running errands, keep it to 1 day and plan it accordingly to being around each other.
Yep.
Or have everything delivered like I do.
Yeah.
Those types of really simple things.
Okay. I love that.
Simple.
Batch tasks. Yes. What is another one?
Micro self-care. Don't look at the big picture. One simple step at a time, right? It doesn't have to be even an hour's worth of a workout 3 times a week. It could be 20 minutes 2 to 3 times a week.
We've had members that
Or
we started with 15 minutes.
yes, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And it was literally just a walk, just to start doing something. The concept of simple physics, right? The concept of inertia, a body in motion remains in motion. So just one in front of the other, start somewhere. Super, super simple. Or it's 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of drinking your coffee in peace. 5 minutes earlier, wake up to drink your coffee in peace. That's it.
I love it.
Okay. And then the bigger one, which might be a bit harder, is just really ruthlessly prioritizing, like being very, very aggressive in your priorities. Sometimes I don't even like to really call them priorities, but responsibilities, because priorities puts a hierarchy behind things. And that I don't love, because you are putting the undertone that something is more important than the others, when as adults we have just responsibilities and lots of them.
Yeah.
And each of them has their own time and place. So just being very clear and cutthroat in what has to take place at certain points in time throughout the day. And don't allow boundaries. It's ultimately boundaries.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like, I took notes because these are so good. I love the idea of batch tasks. I actually do this like Friday, like today is my day that I try to not book stuff. That's my appointment day. And I normally, if we have to do a little bit of something extra, I will always have the default time on the Friday. And like this has kept me so sane, and this like stopped so much disruption on a weekly, during my week. So now are my three. First one is create systems that support your goals. And what I mean by that is that, for example, whenever it comes to workout, so many times we speak with people and they're like, I'm going to work out whenever there is like a gap on my schedule. I don't know where y'all are adulting, but every time that there is so-called quote gap on my schedule, it gets eaten by some kind of bullshit that I didn't know was going to happen. So like create systems, and what this can look like is like scheduling your workouts, objectively look at your workouts and put that shit on your, like, if it's not, my husband sends me calendar invites for date nights. If it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen. And I need the address and I need all the details. So block that, or like another thing that we do at home to make things in the morning more efficient is to save time is I get all my kids' clothes the night before, because I like to pick their clothes because they cannot dress for shit. So I put it downstairs and they just come down and they get dressed because the clothes are already there, instead of me trying to like figure it out and fight with them. Like I leave all the things for their breakfast kind of like quasi ready. I literally just recently changed my daughter's breakfast based on a suggestion that you gave me, because she wouldn't eat the cooked warm breakfast, but now I just give her a smoothie and it's being amazing. So create systems that support your ultimate goal. Number two, I think you and I see very eye to eye on this one, which is to outsource. What are the things that you're doing that waste your time that you can get somebody else to do that is going to cost a lot less time? Some things that we always talk about is outsourcing grocery shopping. Like there's so many apps that you can use. There's so many, even grocery stores, a lot of them have the pickup that you can just go there, or the delivery, and you're paying a little bit of an extra fee, but how much is your hour worth? That's what it comes down to. So another thing that you can outsource is like the cleaning of your house. If you can make it work, grass, like the landscape, laundry, like what are the things that you can outsource in your life because you're time starved? Because the thing is that we outsource so many things. Like the ladies listening, if you're an attorney, you probably have a legal assistant, you have a paralegal, you have like the front desk person. You are outsourcing in your professional life. Why is it that there is so much pride to outsource in your personal life? Like, I don't get it.
I know. And that goes hand in hand with mom guilt, which should be potential, or just guilt in general. That should be a topic that we discuss in depth
Yeah.
another point in time for sure, because the guilt that filters in from our.
We have one. We have one.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to link it in the show notes.
Good.
Yeah, I'm going to link it in the show notes. We've talked about that. But here, like mom guilt for what? For not doing the laundry. But I feel a lot more guilty for the time that I take to do laundry that I don't spend with my kids, because I'm focusing on shit that doesn't matter.
Or
like, it doesn't matter who does my laundry.
Yeah, or I feel guilty because the shirt that they want to wear that day isn't clean and I just couldn't get to it because I'm busy with everything else. I mean,
right.
Well, no, I don't feel guilty about that. I'm just kidding. But,
Yeah. So this would be like outsource. And I feel like the fitness aspect is something that there is so much pride for women to outsource that I don't get it. Like, oh, I should know what to do. Bitch, if you have been stuck for years, then you don't. Like, how about we outsource in a knowledge that, listen, I'm stuck and my time is worth more than the years I've been trying to figure this out on my own. Like, how about you get to, and it doesn't have to be us, but be open-minded that there are people that can help you.
Well, that's like saying that you're going to go fill your own cavity yourself. It doesn't make sense. They're professionals in every area for a reason. But boo, if you're going to sit there and go fill your cavity, you have a threshold for pain that is beyond my comprehension.
Oh, no, but I should know what to do because I've had teeth in my mouth for 41 years or 40 years. So I totally should know how to do, it sounds insane.
Yeah.
So that's the second one, outsource. And I think that the last one, we can do a whole podcast on this, which we will, which is your environment and the community that you are around. Like being intentional. And I know that a lot of times, if it is from toxic family, you might not be able to completely remove yourself from that. But can you insert yourself in a different environment that it can offset the negativity that you get from your traditional environment, be that from your family and people that you cannot just be like, fuck off, and it just is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people in my family that they're toxic as hell, and I do that in doses.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would be wise for me to just be like, I hate all of y'all. I'll do that to my dad because he deserves it. But there are other people that don't really deserve because they just haven't experienced enough of what is possible. So they're very limited on their beliefs. And because they're limited, they want other people around them to be limited too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have people like this around you, how about you put yourself in environments with people that don't have that kind of limits, and they will show you what is possible, with time management, with whenever you have so many balls in the air that you can still accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I really wholeheartedly believe that the community is incredibly important.
Imperative.
So these would be my tips.
I agree. Wholeheartedly imperative. Mind you, there are certain circumstances, which I love your compassion and the idea of not telling certain family members to just whistle Dixie. I will, though, say that there are certain times that you absolutely can cut the cord on certain family members too, even if it is blood relatives.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. Like I cut off my dad. I don't speak with my dad and I don't even want to entertain him being around my kids because I don't think there is anything good that is going to come out of it. But I do feel like that there might be some people around us that it's not that they're bad people. It's just that they haven't been exposed. Like if you have always lived in that one small bubble, how are you, like whenever you have somebody that comes to you and tells this person who is very limited in their beliefs because of their life experience, how are they going to be able to support a bigger dream? Like that's something that I experienced whenever I was moving out of Brazil. Everybody said I was crazy. Why? Because they had never moved out of their freaking village.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know resources are limited in all different walks. Nowadays, again, I might be a little aggressive in my comments, but there's such a thing as Google. Nowadays to see the bigger pictures of all things. So
Fair. Jen, thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to add to the conversation today that people can take home before we wrap up?
No, of course, as I say that, I'm sure thoughts will come. But no, as of right now, no, I can't wait though to expand on the idea of community because that is something that that's part of my passion project. So I love it. Love it.
Yeah, especially after the summit, I think it was very palpable how important that is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, ladies, stay tuned for the next episode with Jen. And by next episode, we are absolutely going to have a name for the episode and you can hold me to it because I'm one that is always saying, I'm going to try, I'm going to see, I hope. There is no more hoping, trying, and I'm going to see it is happening.
We're not too busy.
And you have, we're not too busy. Screw that. Well, we are busy, but screw being busy. We're still going to get it done. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Jen, thank you so much for being here. And I will see you in the chat in about 5 seconds. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram. Links are down below as well. And let me know what topics you want to hear more about or who I should have on the show. This is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.